All right, so we're logged into the demo system here. Actually, let me log back out. I guess one of the things that we'd like to point out is that there's a lot of flexibility in point of sale as far as toggles that allow it to function in different ways. And the vast majority of that is currently controlled through mrk.control. So on the POS tab, you'll notice there is a plethora of different options here. I think we intend to clean this up in the future and make it a little easier to navigate. But as you can see, there's a huge number of options here that trigger different functionality. A couple of the key things that we're going to be looking at in this demo are related to specific functions in POS that a particular customer was looking for. One of those being, and forgive me, again, we need to clean this up. It's a little hard to navigate, but there's one here that's POS auto create customer prompt. So what that's going to do is allow us to have it automatically create a customer if your search term does not result in any existing customers on file. And then there's a handful of other things here that, let's see. Sorry, again, I was kind of under the gun here to get this going quickly. But long story short, there's a number of options here, and we can trigger different functionality by setting these options. Another one that I'll enable here that this particular customer is looking for, and we might find that they really don't want it, is require entry user authentication. So the idea here was that as they're creating new orders in POS, that it prompt them to re-authenticate. This is sort of the idea of a shared register where multiple different users are interacting with it. So they want the user that's creating the order to be authenticated so they know who created that order. So I'm going to check that box. And then when I save this, the next time I log in here, it will have those new options available. We're going to log in here and go to POS. And we're going to pretend we're originating a new order for someone that just walked in the door, and we'll call it new customer. Hopefully there's no customers on file on this system called new customer. So there we go. We got a prompt here for customer name, and it's asking, would we like to create that customer? So just to kind of show how that toggle works, I'm going to bail out of this, and I'm going to log out. And then I'm going to go back into MRK control, and I'm going to flip that flag. So if I go back in here and I uncheck auto create customer prompt, if I save that and then I log back in and I don't fat finger my password, all right, so now if we go back into POS and we enter that same search term, new customer, I think it was new cust I entered. So it didn't find anything, and you'll see I didn't get prompted to create that new customer account. So that's kind of demonstrating the flexibility that we have with these many toggles that we can set up within MRK control. So I'm going to turn that back on. I should have done that backwards so I could show you that it didn't do it first and then that it did second. But we'll log back out and back in one more time. Alrighty, so once again, new cust. And we're going to say, yes, we want to create a new customer. So now created the customer, and here's that additional prompt that I enabled via the MRK control. So this is asking me to authenticate after I selected a customer, which is sort of the first stage of creating a new order. So a different user could authenticate here, and then we would have context for who that is. I think ultimately this customer is going to find this as frustrating, and they're going to ask us to turn it off. But luckily, it's just clicking a checkbox, so not a big deal. Really having problems with my password today. Alrighty, so now we're logged in and we can add a couple items to the cart. Another flexibility option I'll point out. So you'll notice I did a search for Cap 10, which resulted in one product, and it was automatically added to the cart. There's some functionality that's user specific related to this. We'll go ahead and bail out of that. So that's triggered by this option here, auto add part. So if your search returns one item, it will automatically add it to the cart. But if I don't want that, I can just turn it off. Now we'll go back in. We'll select my customer that was already created for me. So this time, if I search for Cap 10, it'll find the one item, but you'll notice it didn't automatically add it to the cart. So another demonstration of there's a lot of flexibility that we can set up within the system here. And I actually was looking for an item that had quantity available. Now we've added a couple items to the cart. We'll go ahead and create the order. Another thing, I won't go back and forth toggling it, but we have another option that allows you, some customers want to have the order header information prompted for first, so that they can fill in some of these details, and then they progress to adding the parts to the cart. That's another thing that we can flip back and forth. So this is the new customer we created. It has no address details yet because all I prompted for was the name. So if I then enter shipping details here, I tell it to save it to the customer. It's going to go out, and in this case, again, based on a toggle in MRK control, you have the option to have it automatically update the customer's billing address if there are no ship to items on file or ship to addresses on file, and you just added a new one. So in this case, that toggle caused this to, rather than create a new ship to, it saw, hey, this is a customer that doesn't have any address information. I'm going to add that address information to the customer itself. So that's what happened there. We'll go ahead and create the order. Again, based on some toggles, we can now automatically flow this through to creating shipments for that order. And I think we've shown in previous demos, you can either ship the entire order or you can now do a partial shipment. So the partial shipment then allows you to originate POs for items that you don't have in stock. We found a bug a little earlier today where I believe there is no quantity available for this part. So this should technically say ship quantity of 0 because we don't have any to ship. But then we can select a vendor here. It's select a different vendor for this part. If we selected the same PO for both of these items, when we ship the order, it will consolidate those items onto a single PO. So one of the bugs I was running into, I was hoping to do a partial shipment where we actually shipped one item and created a PO for a separate item. Then it would progress us automatically to paying for that invoice. But I noticed there's a bug where I can't actually do a shipment. Well, let's try. I think it's going to blow up on me. Yeah, so something not quite right on the back end of this particular system where it won't allow me to actually make a shipment for an item. We'll go ahead and create a PO for it instead. So now it's coming up and saying PO has been created for order 5125. We could go into wrong window. We could go into SO.E for that order. And then if we look at the summary line item, we can see that POs were created for those individual vendors for those line items based on that partial shipment.